income taxes to file our returns and pay those taxes. So whether we are being charged E-Levy or not, let's make sure that we file returns with the GRA and pay our taxes. The other thing is that we are all required to pay VAT on the services that we receive and the goods. When that is done, we are supposed to get a VAT receipt or VAT invoice. Let us make sure we demand those invoices because we have paid tax. So if we don't collect that receipt or that invoice, that person, there's no record of that tax, and it means government will not get it. So we can also help contribute by making sure we collect our VAT invoices and VAT receipts on the supply of goods and services. The
wages and salaries.
Okay.
How does it affect wages and salaries?
There's no E-Levy on your wage or your salary. But that is if your employer is paying from his
No, I'm
account.
told maybe you have to take off your mask so that they can hear you well. Okay?
Is this better, please?
Yes, it's better. And speak with a macho voice so that we can hear you. How does it affect wages and salaries?
Okay. There's no E-Levy on wages and salaries. Once your employer is paying from a merchant account, that account from his bank account, there's no E-Levy on it. So it doesn't affect it. Merchant transactions, so the market women. Now, if you are registered with the Ghana Revenue Authority for income tax or VAT and or VAT, and someone is buying from you and uses Momo to pay for it, whether it's Momo or whatever electronic means to pay for it, there's no E-Levy on it.
Take it again. Take your time. Wait. Ladies and gentlemen, especially the market women who are here, Isa, you will translate this for me. Please explain, because it's key to the market women. Take it again.
Okay. So there's no E-Levy on what we call specialized merchant payments. That is a payment to a person, so the market women in this instance, who are registered with GRA, not TIN, but for income tax or VAT, and are paying. Once you are doing that and you're on GRA's records as having done that, when somebody is buying from you, the person will not pay E-Levy. So then you can buy your goods without the charge. It's the same with if you are also buying from your suppliers and they are registered for income tax or VAT. I'm stressing on that one, not TIN. Once you are registered for that one, then what you are also sending to them, there's no E-Levy on it. But the thing is that it must be registered with GRA and should be paying their income tax and VAT.
Thank you very much. Let's get a translation quickly before we deal with the others.
So, ntaha bombo hebo shangama ka bobo labsabazanti. Tuli sonde bohe ni di nang ka amdong de dabilam ka kaba zang de mobile money nang de lala dabilam ma karnya la lapsala go kamal nang da ka bohe ni lala lapsala go ngoma lala E-Levy ngoma dang balebe ko en ai lala E-Levy ma bagbahare lapsala go na ma de tumenung kamza hanang de dabilam ka mal ban shaatam bole tax returns ka amin GRA ben jahre fargo ngoma ka amin ba pohanto yu taba ka amin ba ato chang tzang agbana zan wuhba dintin ka bore be Allah sa fargo yuabo la tax returns ma don wehe na yom fargo be ade yu fargo ka soga de lam bohe ni ben shaatam bole wages and salaries ton tum de ben tum de tuma ka gol kir ka be yorbala na mi wula ka lala E-Levy ngoma ka diyan le inshihi lala tinjahar lashal golkiya ngoma na mi de male barna de zobe ko yale ne lala E-Levy ngoma da bagbare tinjahar lashal golkiya la chicha golkiya ko de be gobnanti tumtumda ne bagbarle ne dama ay kpege gobnanti ne yuare tir nirba chicha ne min gobnanti tumtumda ba ne ti yuar la ben shaatum boile pay as you go an yuarma de ka amfani shale no gobnanti lan zang lala E-Levy mana ntagbale kabzan ni mana kayale ni hal ay yihir al arabin wa la shel non banka na karnyala ayuar kab yuama ka ay yihir lan nang da mobile money account puni ni lala E-Levy ngoma de biang bale da imam lala E-Levy ma bagbare lala la shelton jahrma ka so me boy ne di nan ne binyala da be ne kamale ben shatam bol merchant sims ka be yuare be dar ka yuar nang da puni ne la yob ngoma la E-Levy ngoma dan bale be do ko bale ko yale ni ben shatam bol specialized payment be specialized merchant sims ma merchant sim nyala din sane a chang ya te digi la shele be sim shele bam mala ntir laare ka jere laare kar nyala den to di la shel dan galsi ka mal ko hara nyama ka be yuar nang da puni ni de nyala merchant sim ka mala ka be yuar laare nang da puni abiyan yo E-Levy de zo ni di me nyala agbazang la merchant sim ma na dabben shaw a supplier sane ka yih laare da puni nzang yo na biyan yo E-Levy de zo ni dama ni lala merchant simma the two-minute register with GRA bandere fargula ni katin GRA ka benito dere fargo de zo bandere fargo de zo ma de balan tu nuti de fargo karanya E-Levy de zo ne ntaha bambo bo shanga mbala ka nliabagale milen setatarga.
Thank you. Haja Ibaya. So understanding is happening. Salema Dagbani is coming small. I'll come to Minister shortly, but yes, we continue to engage our colleagues in the minority. As you heard, right from day one, we've been engaging and seeking to engage. And quite recently, you heard the majority leader mention that Minister wants to do some more engagement so that more people get an understanding before we go back on the floor of Parliament. And that's what we are doing here. We will be doing that with them as well. Minister, there's a question from the teachers. What is in it for us as teachers? Because the way it's sounding, it's not a bad idea. If we too, we see our own in it, maybe we ourselves, we can go and advocate for you out there. Is that what you are saying, madam? So, Minister, what is in it for us as teachers?
Wow, this is a very good question. And really, thank you very much for your intervention. Because I think these conversations are what leads, to the opening of our minds, and therefore our own sort of personal commitments to burden share, being aware of the sacrifice that is ahead. It's an interesting question because all of my family are teachers. My mom was primary school teacher. My father was in the university, he's a professor, and my wife also. So I've grown up with teachers surrounding me. But I've also, come to appreciate that the love of seeing their students do well, is typically one of the major rewards. And so the issue of whether we can continue to increase our school feeding program so that when the kids come in, they are alert and you know that the teaching is getting somewhere, changes one's perspective of rewards. Clearly, an increment in resources affords us the capacity to make sure that the allowances continue, and more importantly, that wages change. We talk about wages, and wages for the 700,000 public service workers, all of you, it's about 60% of the revenue we raise. So there's very little room for movement. However, I'm also the first to acknowledge that your wages are not decent. So, we are caught in this vice as to what we then do to be able to A, increase the revenues so that this ratio comes down, but at the same time find the means of increasing the take home. And if we then are able to encourage this, to create this entrepreneurial society so that people are then employing people, there's increase in productivity, and there's less people rushing to the public sector, clearly then we begin to lift the stream. So it has these knock-on effects that one does not realize. And it is as we sacrifice, we burden share, we realize that, this thing will then put us into a better, stronger society, you know. But as we sit there, you have advocates who just believe that without education and therefore the teacher software, we can't emerge to the manifest destiny of greatness that we should. So we'll be there with you, battling with you all along the way, and we pray that we go through all this. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Minister, thank you. Very quick translation of that, and then I'll start the next round of questions here. Chairman, in about 1 minute, translate for me.
Okay. Ma person de bohe onyala teacher onyala ngunum so ngun karam ni lala fargoma di nanka de tiswal na Ghana be mulchiza ha yuale ni de dan fa na yenye den zanti karam banama nan vorsha ban wuhur karam ni danka minister yisi yale ni tuli na ikana tele ben shaatum wal school feeding program ma ne de nyala ben shashal den song de pam ka behto chan shikurti ntuto dira ka kpalanda ka buhambo karto chan to ne den yalanka dinan ka to fargo kar yelege ka la yobgo ma yo de nyala ben shaadan ne to pangse ka behto kpalam nkaram den yalanka mbuham ti chanam sane ne dan paharayi ay kana tele tin zan la shale en yore selo tetin ban ngo puni ne de pago kobgo popu no babu bo pehyuabo kata male tin jahar fargo shanga be la shanga tin yara mal yuar lala selo ngoma zasa ne do zodi nyala ti yelga lala noel ngoma de nyala ban shaatin ne to pahe nem von shabantum de tuma de bahbam de ti chanangba kata ne to pahba yuare de zo kalan tom yale ni zan chang ban shaatin bol entrepreneurship la ne nirba pam to bor na bazan ba gamazo de bahbam de ti chanama ntaha ne lala fargo ngoma yiti de nyala ban shaadan de to yoti ka so kamza ha ne teacher na makata ne to boda bilim shel bahte te lala ti shukur bansam ngoma zo de nyanche ka Ghana ka tuma nang bayana zan ti so kamza sa.
Thank you, thank you. So there's a gentleman in the blue African print shirt here. We'll take him as one. There's a gentleman in, I think there's a brown shirt at the back that will take him as two. There are two gentlemen in white shirts. We'll pick one, and then we'll come here for a fourth one. Then we'll wrap up on this side and go. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourselves to us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Al-Hassan Nuhman Subdu, the SRC President of Tamale College of Education.
Okay.
Honorable Finance Minister, as it stands now, our 2 months allowances has not been paid. We teacher trainees, the government is still owing us. Likewise, the nurses, they are even going to embark on a strike as I'm speaking. And what I want to know is that we do hear that in case this E-Levy is not able to be passed, our allowances will be scratched off. How true is it? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your question. I think implied in the earlier question Minister answered, he mentioned that today, 60% of all the revenue that we raise, it goes to pay salaries. It's only left with 40% to do statutory payments like DACF, etc. Then he will go and pay interest and debt servicing on other ones. So the discretionary expenditure, the window is very small. And he's saying that with increased resources, he can do more. The answer is embedded in that one. So we'll start from there. Yes, sir. Let's start from you. Please introduce yourself quickly.
I'm Momun Abdulaziz, the leader of Mobile Money Agent Association.
Yes, Mouni, let's hear you.
Thank you very much for organizing this forum for us. The question I have to ask Honorable Minister is that we are having the problem we are having with the E-Levy is that we are all aware that if a customer is to send money from his wallet, he will pay a service fee of 1%. So if 1.75 E-Levy will be added to it, it will be 2.75%. So when it scares customers away from doing Momo, then keeping physical cash, and if that would be the case, our business will come to standstill. No one will do Momo again. So I need clarification from that.
Thank you. Let's give him a big round of applause. And there's a reason for which I'm asking for that. There are some people who won't be interested in asking. They will say all sorts of stories. He has taken time to be here. There are some who go to town hall meetings and are just rowdy. He's taking time to be here and has asked this question. I know Minister will respond to it. Minister, when you are responding, please also give us a bit of history. I was a young journalist when the communication service tax was introduced. And I remember the same kind of argument that if this talk time tax is increased or is introduced, nobody will talk on mobile phone again. What has been the impact of the talk time tax on the mobile phone industry? And how is this likely, this E-Levy tax likely to affect his business? He's worried about his business. How is it likely to affect it? My brother, correct? Minister will give a response to that. Let's take 3 more. So the 2 gentlemen in white, let's pick one. Let's pick one. Yes, right there, the 2 gentlemen. They will come this way. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Inusa Mohammed is my name. I represent Ghana Chamber for Young Entrepreneurs, Northern Region.
Okay.
In Koforidua, the Honorable Minister mentioned that many artisans don't pay taxes. Therefore, the E-Levy will rope them in. I want to set this scenario and seek for clarification. If I contract a carpenter to work for me, say make a wardrobe for me, and I pay him via mobile money 500 Ghana cedis, based on the E-Levy and how I understand it, I'll be deducted. I have to pay the E-Levy instead of the carpenter who worked and is taking the money. I don't understand why I should pay E-Levy when somebody has worked. I didn't work, I'm only paying him. And I want to, this is a follow-up on an earlier question about salary workers, that if I use ATM to withdraw my salary from my bank, will that attract E-Levy? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. So let's take the last 2 from this side. Last two from this side, and then we'll wrap up. So if I pay my carpenter 500 cedis, why is he not the one paying? Why am I the one paying? No, make a note. I'll take a technical response from you before I go to Minister for policy comments. Then also, if I withdraw my money from ATM, is that not electronic transaction? Some people say I will pay. Is that true? So make a note of those ones. Yes, sir. Quickly, sir.
All right. My name is Prosper N. Napari. I'm from Tatale Sanguli.
Prosper from Tatale.
Tatale Sanguli.
Go ahead.
Yeah. The question I have to ask has to do with, though we get, what I'm getting clear is that the E-Levy is more or less like preaching self-reliance in the country for us. Now, at the end of the month, workers, we are all getting into this e-banking and all those other things. If I am withdrawing money from the bank into my mobile wallet, or I am sending money from my mobile wallet into my bank account, is it affected by the E-Levy?
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Noe, take a note of this. You would give that bank to mobile account. Last question for this round.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable. My name is Dogoli Magnus, a student of the University for Development Studies. As students, we are much grateful for the clarification on the E-Levy with regards to school fees. But aside the fees, I want to find out the direct relation between the E-Levy and then the cost of goods and services on the general market, because aside the school fees, there are other things that keeps us in school. So I want to find out if we will not even pay the E-Levy for our school fees through mobile money, but the other transactions or, let me say, expenses we as students incur, how does what's its direct bearing with the E-Levy? Thank you very much. Okay,
so the other general services, is there any exemption from other general services? So let me just go over. Alasan from TCES, I have responded to your question already. Mumuni says there's already a 1%. If you charge 1.75 on it, that becomes 2.75. Will that not scare my potential customers away as a Momo operator? By the way, bear in mind that Minister has already worked with the telcos to reduce their charge by about 25%. So the telcos, first of all, are reducing their charge. And your question is that even after that, will that not scare my potential customers away? I'll let Minister respond to that. That's a policy question. Minister will respond. Inusa, Chamber for Young Entrepreneurs, says 500 cedis that I'm using to pay my carpenter. Why am I paying? Because I'm the sender and not him, since he's the one benefiting from that. No, technical, you respond. ATM, if I withdraw, ATM, does it affect? Prosper is asking, if I move my money from bank to my Momo account, my own Momo account, is that affected? And then, if you are giving an exemption for public services and social services like school fees, How about other general services in the economy that students also benefit from? That's your question. No, let me start with you before I go to Minister.
So for general services, the school fees, as I said, if it's on a public platform, it's exempt. If it's a private person who is registered, it's exempt. Other general services, once it is more than the 100 cedi a day cumulative threshold, the E-Levy is due on it. Personal transfers. If I transfer from my mobile money account wallet to my bank account, or to another mobile money wallet that I own, or if I transfer from my bank account to my mobile money wallet, either way, once it's my personal account, it is not taxable. There's no E-Levy on it. If I transfer from my mobile money wallet to my bank account, or from my bank account to my mobile money wallet, or from one mobile money wallet, so I have an MTN mobile money wallet, and I transfer to my Vodafone mobile money wallet. In all cases, once it's mine, there's no E-Levy on it. ATM withdrawals, once you are withdrawing, just like when you are cashing out, there's no E-Levy on it. When you're withdrawing from an ATM, there's no E-Levy on it. Now, the sender, when I'm paying the carpenter, maybe 500 cedis, I, the sender, I'm also going to pay E-Levy. How about the person who is receiving it? Once the person has received it as Momo, once he's also paying, you also pay E-Levy on it. So, as you receive and you are also transferring, you pay the E-Levy on that one.
Thank you. Can I get a microphone for Minister to make some general policy comments on some of these questions that have come? Minister, where are your hands? Right. And then I'll come for another last but one round of questions.
Great. Thank you very much indeed. And it's good to hear these questions. You know, as Minister mentioned, you know, the fear educate you now go to university and you say, give me more free things. Where is the country going? What mentality do we have to change to be able to say it's time for me to also contribute? Burden sharing in that enterprise. And those are that we should ask. That if we have about 5 or 6% in university refuse to think of themselves as an elite, to be able to then move the nation, pretend that they are not different and they are like everybody else, so they can get little arguments of that. We have a huge problem, and it's not the shouting, but it's the analysis, it's the recognition. How you should begin to pay back. So that would be my response.
Thank you, Minister.
Young man with the blue shields and white. You know, those are questions that we should ask ourselves, you know, and it does not belittle us. It makes us stronger as a country. And I couldn't find an office, and it had to be an office in Cantamanto, in a construction company, bank. I have been a doorman before. I had been a servant before. So it's like, what chance do I take to move ahead? Okay. Really, it's now the mindset that we should. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm going to go around for a final batch of questions after. I think, Minister, it's no longer be 0.75. Momo, so now from the telcos, because they are going to reduce theirs. This E-Levy comes into being, they will reduce theirs, which will bring them to a total of 0.75, and then additionally what the government would. I remember initially about 2 their country free of charge. They don't do road for us. And police, they don't do beyond the provision of that service that they are providing for us. But now they have agreed to take a cut so that government can also do the other services for you. Quick translation, and then we'll take the final batch of questions.
Thank you, Minister. Ntaha boy shanga den de boy ma den yala boy se daba anu zone. Tuluma den yamen ntaha shukuru belongon be training college in the boy ne be yala ne lala E-Levy ngoma ne di be passi ne be kulanya bedala wans. Danka Minister yalma ne pa yamang le nyale. De le en song me npangse lala E-Levy ngoma yin ka yob ma ka to nang de kalang ka beto nyer be lare ntum de betuma ne nyeshale ka bo go gbadala bo he ni onyala mobile money agent ni dinyala bentum de tunshale nta ni mobile money operators ngoma ne be charger bala 1% 1% ka government bala henzang 1.75% na tizang tiba ko go popu no vabo yim ka government be nzang ko go popu no vabo yim ne top pisopoi nanu nzang pahe ne re yan yisela vabo de bayi ne top pisopoi nanu ka minister liabgala ya to ama ka yale ni paran la government ne zang de la E-Levy ngoma zona de chamka ba min la telecos ngoma po ha yu taba ka bagba ga shawara ka bo bogi bandiyan dire fargo ko go popu no vabo yim la ka bazang la ntizang zale ka dablan pa ga vabo yim ka ba yehe vabo bo pishi na anu de puni kar palam tum sha andian yo 1 sidila ka yo 0.75%. Kama misale ayen yo 500 Ghana cedis kama million de banu andian yo shire de banu la ablahan yo shire de banu ayen yo la shira ta ne pon le piso point nanu ka lan yale ni mane ni exemption de la ni mane ni ayen yo kar nyala millions ayende 500 Ghana cedis ma abian yo de zazo ayen yo la 400 Ghana cedis zo kar nyala government ne borno otoku kato song banumbo sha bankalare ka bohshal den de pahatama ni ngun benye yeto ashale den yan tahle ka oyen chaka carpenter yen chako tumtuma nzang to ko yen yo million de banu to ka ngun yen yo fargo ka carpenter ngun yen di l'arma ka ngun bien yo fargo ka belapsele ka wuhe ni nyen non bo so ngun mal l'armo tirma nyen yen yo fargo non bo so ngun dir ma be bien yo amma carpenter ma gba yen zang l'arma yo nan ban shao onyala non bo so ngun gba yen yo fargo de zone ka bohago de lam bohe ni di non ko yen diga laare dekpenne kaman dekpenne laare ATM ko changne ma no te ye laare ne be ye ne fargo ma na gbale ka minister yale ni fargo ma ba gbara dekpenne laare ayen ye ATM zo fargo ma ba gbarle ka sobar lam bohe ni di nan ka yen ye azan laare yi amomo account puni nan zande chan a bankane na mi E-Levy ma na gbale be ka be ne ba gbara den de no ko nan kar nyala nyim mamma momo account kar cher amamma bank account puni ma ne be yang gbale nlala non la nyale ay yihre lar a bank puni kan na nyim mamma momo account puni ne lala E-Levy ma de ba gbarle ne yaha ay zang de MTN kar nya amamma momo account nyale ka yihre lar nang da Vodafone puni kar nya amamma momo account nyale nlala fargo ma ba gbarle ka berlam bo he
you have to repeat that one. Repeat that one.
ni ay zang de lare in yer nyim mamma momo account puni kar nyala misale nyene Haruna Muhammadu ka zang de le chahra a bank account ni ka bank account ma gba nye Haruna Muhammad ka zang de lar nang de puni E-Levy ba gbarle ay yihre lar a bank puni nkanna amamma momo account puni kar nya yuyende nyi no nyele da ba gbarle ay zang de lar yir nyim mamma MTN account ni nchane Vodafone account ni E-Levy ba gbarle ay yihre le cher Airtel money ni E-Levy ba gbarle E-Levy ba gbar nyim mamma ben yahare dandalam pahra
Ibaya
sonde bohe ni lala E-Levy ngoma be yelde dan fana nam ni nyeshanga ka oru bohe ne ben shabum bol no cost of goods and services no wula karayan to nan ka de bana to so be exemption shanga be taro shanga to bier puni ka minister yele ne den nye ben yina ta baga kama nan vurso munyan zang larati karba yam millions za yende lala nirma biyan yo farago de zo na island kanata lehe kaman sukur fils min de ya ama nganam za nyala ben yehe de puni kala la ben yarma bagbarle ka minister baralan le toasi ne farwo nyala ben shashal den tunete za hak pansi ne to yo katin to song titan ban karal yabage.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go for the last batch of questions. This one will do more than 4. Yes, let's start with the gentleman there. And I'll defer more to my right this time around. Yes, sir. Introduce yourself to us. And let's go. Minister, this is the final round of questions.
Ibrahim Yusuf, Ila Nandambo Group, Tazanti, Northern Region. Malabuago, the Fabla. First Boagma Nyame. Nandambo Bambe, Society Vapune. Bobuame. Na mi E-Level Marba Nandamba. Because I live Biago Pune, employment Nandambo Polo, Bopuarpam. Cha Baramal Moma Beba Mara Barangalsi. Now me E-Level the Barmasi. Second one, you told the Banyala. Nana Adu, Dankwa, Akufo-addo, and Daddy Gomnatuo. What also when you feel like what Nandamba? Until 20 toll boot, Katishi toll boot in Mapune, and 20 had a lame as a letter Ghana. Popo Bakata Kusina Yara, Tati, Shabdamlia Pamia Zomoka Chetaka, because of Bakata Kusmana. To Ami Wula near E-Level, I didn't change it toll boot to E-Level. Ami Wula near K Mazan Chan de Polo, Nere Lampa Nyame. Trinyaka working for so low Karama Dwell Palma Gata. Ami didn't ka E-Level map Biaka, 12 Butwak Parzelma. Working for so low Bamia, and no son at the Palama. We are getting a dear of Faruma Basane. Tianukume Boasham.
Haruna, can you translate that? Minister was writing, but I don't know what he was writing.
Okay, thank you, Minister.
Translate for us.
This is a question that is coming from our very good friends from the people living with disabilities, and he's standing on behalf of those persons, our good friends.
I heard he said his name is Yusuf. Is that correct? That's one I heard. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. He's asking that does E-Levy also gets to the people living with disabilities?
The benefits of E-Levy.
Does it affect them?
Will they pay?
Yeah, will they
or
pay?
is there an exemption for persons living with
Will
disability?
they pay?
Okay.
Or there is any exemption for people living with disability? And the second question is on the toll booth issue, that there was an announcement that people living with disability who were employed within the toll booth system to go home. And they don't know exactly what that initiative in terms of the E-Levy benefit that will come across to these persons as they sit at home. What are the interventions that government is taking? And also, as the toll booths are closed, Burkina Faso has other long vehicles passing and other countries passing through these toll booth systems, which they don't pay. Is there a way that E-Levy will be instituted to get these people to pay these taxes to the people of Ghana?
Or is there any other way of making revenue from those vehicles that are still using our roads?
Sure.
All right. No, so make a note of the first one. Is there an exemption for persons living with disabilities? I'll deal with the jobs and then the long vehicles payment structure. Let's take some more questions.
Thank you very much. My name is Nurain Abdelkarim.
Lorraine.
Yes, please. Former NUX President, UDS Tamale.
Okay.
Briefly, I want to find out what measures are currently being put in place by government to ensure that on the implementation of E-Levy, we do not end up slowing down financial intermediation and financial inclusion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How are we ensuring that it doesn't slow down financial intermediation? Let's take some more questions from that side. Yes, sir. What's your name, sir?
Thank you very much. I'm Ryan E.D. Yusuf, a member of Activista Northern Region. I'm now Fix the Country. Please, my question has to do with...
oh, you are a partner from Fix the Country?
Yes, from Activista Ghana.
Okay. So let's hear you.
Okay, so my question has to do with how we manage the finance, because I sat down yesterday just looking through the news item. We lost 12 billion to oil revenue.
We have not lost 12 billion. They say, hold on.
I'm coming.
No, wait. Just so that everybody understands you. They say the Auditor General's report says that 12 billion has been lost.
Yes,
correct?
Has been lost, yes.
That's how it is. So Minister will respond to that one.
Yes.
So first we have to find out if it's true. And then from there, let's go ahead.
That's fine. Okay, so my question has to do with, is there any other way the government and the appointees can look at a way of reducing maybe their salaries and other emoluments, so that if they reduce this, maybe we look at how much they'll be able to generate and what that can do for the country. Then when we get what we also gather from other revenue sources, how are we able to manage it so that we don't mismanage it? Just like it states in the news item, we lost 4.7 billion due to from petroleum revenue. We lost 8 billion through irregularities by statutory. So it's like we are fetching water into a basket.
Yeah.
How are we able to link this revenue shortfall so that even if this is accrued, we are able to manage the economy very well?
And it's a very good question you've asked. We first of all have to examine whether it is true that this 8 billion plus this 4 billion is lost. Because you hear people saying it, they say 12 billion is lost, 12 billion is lost. And if 12 billion is lost, why are you looking for 7 billion? It's a very valid question if it is true. Minister will respond to that. So let's take a final set of 3 and then we'll come for responses.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, I want to find out from the Finance Minister. In 2020 and 2021, government received about $2 billion from IMF, $560 million from World Bank, 10 billion from Bank of Ghana, $290 million from Ghana Stabilization Fund. When you do the calculation, it is about 33 billion Ghana cedis. I want to find out from the Finance Minister if the 33 billion Ghana cedis rather could not solve our problems, could not fix our roads, could not solve the unemployment problem. How much is less than 7 billion? That can solve our problem.
Thank you very much for your question. And first of all, whether the assumption is true that this 33 billion is true, and secondly, whether it is money that was designed to deal with roads and other matters. We'll take the last about 3 or so, and then we'll get responses. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Abdurrashid Yahya. I'm from the Ghana National Association of Private Schools. Mr. Minister, please, can we know the projected figure that E-Levy will give us?
About 7 billion. It's in the budget. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for this. Also, again, can we know, because the Minister was talking about the fear of unknown. Yes, all of us, we have that kind of anxiety with respect to payments. But can we know the accountability structure or structures that will be put in place for Ghanaians, to assuage the fear of Ghanaians in terms of the usage of E-Levy?
Thank you. Minister, what are the accountability structures that you are putting in place? We'll take a final 2. I understand the security agencies that are here also have some questions. So there's somebody who would ask a question. Just give me a wave. I'll send the microphone to you. So apart from the last 2, I'll give that last question to a member of the security agencies. So the last 2.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Alhassan D. Baba. My first question has to do with, I want Mr. Minister to tell us, is there any backup plan should we get the chance of passing E-Levy? Because we heard from him and many other stakeholders of this government to the fact that this cannot happen if E-Levy is not passed, that cannot happen if E-Levy is not passed. Does that mean that if we are not able to pass E-Levy,
all those things will not happen?
We'll come to a standstill.
Thank you very much. Minister, while at that, is it true that E-Levy is the answer to all of our problems? A final question, and then I'll come to the rep of the security agencies who has a question. A final one, quickly. Yes, sir. Please introduce yourself and let's hear your question.
All right, Minister, my name is Anyas.
Anyas.
Anyas, yes. I just have 2 quick questions for Minister. There is this statement that Alhaji Muktaka Mubarak made in Parliament that saddened me. Has there been a consultation between his ministry and the minority side? Because we heard Minister one day said there has been consultation. Then the following day, Muktaka Mubarak said there has not been a consultation. And my final question is, which agency will be the fund managers for this fund if we succeed in getting it?
Consolidated fund.
Okay, thank you.
Consolidated fund. On the question of consultation, let me just get it out of the way. I'm sure you also heard the minority leader, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu, himself say that after consultation with him, between the Honorable Charles Edubuahin and Minister, he was of the view that 1% was acceptable. We all heard it openly. And then later, the party leadership issued a statement that they disagree with him. Embedded in that is the clarity, is the evidence that consultation has been ongoing and is continuing. Today we are here in Tamale consulting the general public, and different people, Fix the Country, Momo users, other people are engaging and giving us feedback. So if anybody tells you that this government does not listen, is not interested in engaging or consulting, that cannot be true. Cast your mind back. When was the last time, even in the administration before the 2017 administration, that you were invited to a town hall meeting on a government policy, that you had the opportunity to express views like you're expressing today? So if anybody goes around saying that there's no consultation, that is absolutely untrue. You are a part of even today's consultation. But we'll give the final word to our gentleman from the security agencies. Please ask your question and then we'll get answers to all of them.
Thank you, Minister. My name is Dramani Vok from the Ghana Revenue Authority, Customs.
Are you the one to collect the money? What question again are you going to ask?
Yes, I just
go ahead. It's just go ahead.
Okay. Please, I want to know. Sorry, sir. I'm taking a quick loan to do business. Definitely, I will pay back with interest. So, and then in the case of the business, E-Levy also come into tax some of the listen. So I don't know whether there's any consideration between the quick loan and then the E-Levy.
So if you get a loan facility on the mobile money platform and they are deducting, will there be the E-Levy charge on that deduction? I'll let Noe respond to that. Just to recap the key questions we haven't responded to. Does E-Levy have any exemptions for persons living with disabilities? There was a question about what happens to the jobs of persons living with disabilities who are working in toll booths. The Minister for Roads has given the full assurance that when we are done with all of these enabling acts associated with the 2022 budget, all of the persons who were living with disabilities and were involved in the toll booth collection program will be accommodated through alternative work programs. So please do that interpretation for us. Also, there is a portion of the levies on fuel that goes into the road fund. It is the toll booths that have been literally made ineffective. What it means is that if there's a vehicle from Burkina Faso or wherever that comes into Ghana and buys fuel here within the Ghanaian jurisdiction, they will contribute to the road fund by the percentage of the levy that goes onto the road fund. There's a question about what are the measures that we are putting in place. Minister, that's a policy question to assure that financial intermediation is not affected. And then Yusuf, who is also associated with Fix the Country, and then my other brother from the NDC who also asked his questions. There's this thing in the airwaves that the Auditor General says that 12 billion Ghana cedis is missing. But Minister, if your 12 billion is missing, why are you not looking for it and you are coming for our 7 billion? That's a question, Chief, correct? That's a question that is embedded in that one. And then there's another question. So far, what is this government doing to reduce A, expenditure generally, and B, the part of expenditure that goes to members of the executive, ministers, deputy ministers, persons in the executive? And Minister, while at that, is it true that from 2021 onwards, salary increments for members of the executive have been frozen? In other words, have been cut? You may want to respond to all of these ones. Noe, take the technical ones first, and then I'll go to Minister. And then final one, Minister, what's your backup plan if E-Levy is not possible?
Thank you, Minister. On whether the E-Levy applies to people living with disability, E-Levy applies to everybody unless there's an exemption. So the 100 cedi a day exemption applies to everybody. It applies to people living with that. Otherwise, once you are not exempt, you pay. On the loan issue, you've collected a loan, you are making payments and deductions. Now, let's know that payments to registered commercial establishments or persons who are registered with GRA for income tax and VAT, there's no tax on it. So once it's going to such an entity which is registered, there will not be any tax on it. If you are dealing with somebody who is not registered and paying taxes, then it will apply. So that is it. And the GRA is responsible for collecting the levy. The entities will charge it, but GRA collects it and pays it into the consolidated fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Thanks for this. This is, I wanted to talk about the gentleman from the Bible school. Yes, I think Minister answered the 7 billion that we intend to raise this time around from the E-Levy. And then you talked about accountability to assuage fears of Ghanaians. And that's a really good question, because it's something that keeps coming back about the issue of waste and loopholes and leakages in the things that we do as a nation and as a government. I think the other recognition that we should have is that the government is all of us. So yes, there are politicians who are leaders, but that person taking that money from you when you are paying customs, is that person living with you or next to you? And therefore, the issue of protection of the public purse really does not reside in only politicians, and it should not be. Otherwise, we will never be able to keep the revenue that we are supposed to get. And I think that really ought to begin to sink in as all of us as citizens being responsible for the leakages that occur. I was having negotiations with the public servants, and therefore the push for more revenue or for more income or increase in wages. And as Minister said, I said, well, it's 59.7% of the revenue comes to you that I collect. But amazingly, it's not me who collects it. It's your colleagues who collect it. So if your colleagues are not interested in collecting what they should, and then you come around to tell me to give me money, to give you money that your colleagues do not collect, where are we in this equation? And I think those are the honest conversations we should be having as to who there is. This idea of pushing this, of course you are leadership, and so you are supposed to guide it. But really, maybe that should be 20% of the factor. So you come and ask me for more money, you are the same people who collect or refuse to collect. And then you want me to distribute something that you have not given me. So you look at the conundrum, and you look at our society, and you begin to ask, you know, who is not telling the truth to each other? And what should we do as a society? So the Vice President, of course, went on this crusade from when we came into government about digitalization and the impact that it would have. To be able to look at our payrolls. I think the other day he went to one of these institutions. We superimposed the national ID data onto that company's data, and suddenly we realized there was about 10 million CDs that, you know, that institution has organized themselves between they and the bank and whatever for payments to be made in which they sign up for it. Then I come into a forum and they are telling me, how am I going to stop these leakages? And how are you getting paid so much as a minister? But the guy, that Ghanaian, is literally stealing money. So when do we sit up? Honestly, when do we sit up? At this stage, I'm 60 years old. I've walked the streets of Chebi before. I've, started business before. I'm looking at a nation and saying there should be more people that should just tell the truth as it is. And really begin to shame ourselves into pretending that we don't know what our deep ills are. And that's where we are at this junction, to be able to do that. Does that mean I'm going to fold my hands? No, I'm not going to fold my hands. And we're going to work on it with the help of our security agencies, etc. But those are the realities. Do I care enough, or am I going to continue in the sense of mediocrity? Is E-Levy the only way and it will solve all our problems? The budget is 145 billion. E-Levy is 7, so that is what? 5% or 6 or 7% of it. But your challenge, as you look at the economy, is to, as visionaries, anticipate where the economy is going. Is this a time to begin to capture that reality? And as small as it is, if you want to say it is small, is it time not to despise small beginnings and move into an opportunity for everybody to be contributing a little or not? Those are the important issues. And then when it even grows beyond the other tax handles, we would have solved these knitted little problems that comes with administration. So a nation in motion, the white people would have told you we were never ready for independence. But Nkrumah said we were ready for independence. The Big Six said we were ready for independence. When do you start? When you see a new development? And that really is the question, And are there other things that should be done with regards to stopping leakages, blocking, theft, stopping influencers from interfering? Yes, let's get a voice. But your voice is stronger when you are paying something, not when you are not paying. And we should really, look at that as a way to move forward. Yes, the issue then of appointees reducing their income and all of that. I mean, honestly, those are fair questions to ask, but these are people who are also managing your 145 billion. I know a lot of cabinet ministers who give their salaries away, someone who gives to Gilbert all their salary, etc. But there has to be respectability, in the things that we do. And it's everybody's choice to make that decision. You are not prepared to make a sacrifice of an average of 25 cedis a month to change the trajectory of a country, but you're asking somebody to reduce their income. And I don't mind doing that, but are we being honest about it? And that really is my challenge as we go. When we talk about the Auditor General, yes, he records things from 2014 to 2016, and there was an issue of 12.8 billion cedis, of which 10 billion was outstanding debtors and loan recoverables. Okay, so it's money that GRA is still going after and it's loans that ought to be paid. You know, and I guess for me, and maybe what Minister was alluding to, is that we are capable of reading, we are capable of seeking answers to this. And a lot of people have mentioned this before, but people keep repeating, you know, that as if it is a religion. So the intentionality of pretending that we don't know that an answer has been given, and we continue to repeat and then make the government obnoxious, does not help us, you know, in the body politic. And I think it's important that, for me, when journalists ask me a question that I know is palpably untrue, I ask them whether they have investigated that or whether they just want to repeat it so that it becomes dogma. Because you are educated, and that's what you are educated to do, to question, not to just parrot or repeat. You know, so the pretense at an objective question, when really, you know, underneath that is trying to force us to think something that is not factual is fact. Let's take that one step, you know, to investigate and do that. So thank you very much for all that we do. Yeah.
Minister, I'm more grateful for the responses that you have given us. Let me go for a quick translation in Dagbani, very quickly.
Okay. Thank you, Minister. Ntaha buashanga dande buhama ka bete de labsabo tule buhagoma de nyame ni nandamba ami lala E-Levy ngoma de malsole karto yihba de punibe ka minister yale ne lala E-Levy ngoma de zamati Ghana Ghana mahluchi kam so kam zasa aynya Ghana nira E-Levy ma barami di nanka atum tun shelden tuni E-Levy ma bai dan bagale ka ole lam bohe ne namvur shabanda be tol butin puni ntum de kanyen nandambla no wula ka gobnante lehre zankparo polo ka minister de yelo ne road minister ne oda yele de yeto a parliament jintor du puni ne lala nirbo ngoma bobo kwang betuma halban na ji yang zongo tapselongo be yorba me be yorne nyeshale ama gobnante na lehre me ben yazangba nzan twashale ka betum de tuma ma song de tetengbarma ka burlam bohe ne bokina lor nama ne beto durta pallama nchana pran la tol butungol lankan ma ba yor ban shaaw ka ole yale ne temalla ban shaatam bole levi son fuel lala bokina lor nama ma bi chana ba darpam ban darpam ma ba yor lala levi nama ma ama tol butungoma ne kanma ba wohne ba yor farugo shelter tangban ma ka sodala bohe bohago zanchang ni lashanga nongula ngarchi pama ye poloti ye polonama ne gobnanti yire lehle ka nanto yina tan mahanir ba yuare zanchang tuma tuntum de gona gobnanti tumtum de polo de nyan son katang ban ma chang toni ka minister le yale ni lala on bo shelma de malamfa na pam kabjela amma ni di borne so mago o yuare ka somi gbazia ka jani oro yehe o pongle be o tafa ne to son katang ban ma gba chang tuni ma den tam do wuhene te za haba bona te lamna te bage ka fargo to galsa ka to liaba ka tang ban ma na ma la bo hagma nya la ban shashare den vel pam ka o wumle ka sorlam bo hay la la nirma no de bo ban shatan bo ni revenue short force ko yale ne jilmalam Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia ni oda lehlala ya'lama ka yihben yar shangana tambol shel digitization and digitalization ma karato ngar voya pam kalala revenue short force ngoma shanga pam lala tinyar la shanga ma boge ka de to chan government sane kalyab gan sam to kanna ka darlam bo hay shel polo ni lala tinyan di farago shel ngoma na la kariyan yisi ka ber yal nir yan yisla billion de ba point ne zayinde ka derlan lapsi lala boh goba lala ka bo ni accountability structures ko yale na lala government la'aro ma di en chela shel politum bol consolidated fund la di yan yeh la'are government zal pana puno de malla ayan dol social yehle ka vi wiyan ve ka ba dol lala solma ve lala accountability ma de yinate ndi shawara be mahati ka nirba bang den disham nirza haso yenya la ben shashal dem biane ka sorlam bo ne backup plan ne karado ko zamatintina lala ben ngoma konko diben non wula katiyan nan ko le bohay ne lala la shaltin yan debe gana tin yan zang tin zang budget shalti jintordu puni ne yisla aba 124 kwabga ne pishi na nu billion tiendi la sele ama aile la E-Levy ma de nyala 7.1 billion ne de poarne la arma na ma ne biala ndanam wabgo dozo ti pil la biala ne to yor fargo kar ne to galse te sa'atan bor shamma de nyala ban sha'adan ne to sa'atan mamman dundon puni nyama ka sobar lambohe ne karala jintorduma puni shawara bianbe ne demo nirda nan katareka be ba par mutaka da yina te yale ne baban nan da shawara ne taba ka oro bohle ka minister yale ne shawara wona sashal kam shawara kulchan me ne lalanda nyale ka onabu haruna idrisu da yina nti yale ne ba minister ba ga shawara ka nan shawara ne taba ko titi tabla ne farguma nyala ban shashal dem jela dir zo dir bolna nti zane ko go popu ne babu yim ner nam jela zangti ne lala sahama da wuya ne shawara da biane ba kalyam nim da yina te ntwa yirmo yalba ne bu sala la banma ka bagba yina te ne bu jege dozo ntaha donc bo shanga ne labso shanga dan kana mbala.
Thank you very much. Before I invite the Honorable Hassan Tampuli to give us the closing remarks, let me just read an extract of an advisory that the Ministry of Finance issued earlier this week on this 12 billion matter. Says this is the breakdown of the 12.8 billion quote-unquote irregularities in the Auditor General's report. A careful read shows that it is misleading to say 12.8 billion is lost to corruption. The first line item, which constitutes over 10 billion of the 12 billion, is outstanding debtors and loan recoverable. When you read the report, the Auditor General clearly states that the over 10 billion constitutes cash and materials public institutions granted each other. For example, Energy Ministry can take materials on loan from ECG to undertake rural electrification and replace it later. Public institutions taking materials and loans from each other is not money lost due to corruption. It is only cited as an irregularity because the date to refund has expired and the refund has not been done at the time of the audit. And surely this cannot be corruption. Then it goes on to say, further reading of the report shows that a big chunk of the amount is also SNIT contributions of public sector workers that the controller owes SNIT. So if you read all of that in detail, you would understand clearly that that is not the situation. Hassan, you have the last word for closing remarks for us.
Hello? The poor pump kapai in this hashal cat is in Chonga got a nang tishingoma. Salama, Ncha Zakana. We came, we had, we'll go back home to our respective places, to Jishai, to Puhanzo, Lolo Kamkatichang, Ncha Nisim Kanazan Chang E-Levy Mazunga Dapsulmo. Rutung Shalangoma, to Kuchela Dumapuni, Tunzan Lechang Bobana Ya. Nchandi chaso kamza bangne bin sha bin yugum numa kalala yinyale ncha bin sha ding ba yetolang kumbung savlugu nantong karga gushao naya zawzo tatale bumbla pandai wulhay nitamalongo tizaha malti yal musra man bin gasia tibor lenglengbom tibor pala Ntia aku baban shadin yan yitamalin of ndolna anton karga hat pa gushao lala parlema to dolla minister for finance it borno dan wula katiyan nan kala dan bon maza karanan dalma nan da be finance minister office nzan gushatin pune palazan so yetna ku borno lala parlema contract ma zan certificate zan chantiti ne bu ne karayo dinnin maza lala fargo ngoma ne katiyan yo sobu bore no yo fargo ayan yo fargo do topam hadi nyala one peswa amma din ku yan nan sham katiza lollo belana katizan zanzan gutaba katizan maltiza habuka ta dama katiza hazan lihi ni tumballa bin shabun mo two choices. We either go cap in hand to go and borrow and saddle future generations with those debts, or we raise the funds now. We bite the bullet and do it today and secure future generations. Ozo benshati yanzan yichongo nyala tizahayan samuti ni E-Levy ma nyala zafia lezantiti dama tiza yunokam borlala yabgum sentuma ngoma tu bor ko nyursun tu bor pala tu bor nglambom tu bor yala pam sukur dure ashibti dure gamnanti mi merla ashibti dur ma titi agenda 111 de changa de be rejim ngopone katiza miri yala zo mblen diesa na wonne malso kamza bukata kachata za kuljin na lafi. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam. Ladies and gentlemen, shall we rise? We will hear and rise to the Yenari assassin shortly, but Alhaji Kupsam will first say the closing prayer, the Muslim closing prayer for us. Alhaji Kupsam, say the prayer for us and then we'll take the Yenari assassin.
Let us pray. Alhamdulillah, lazi hadana lihaza wa ma kunna linahtadiya lawla Allah. Allah will thank you for granting us the travel message, especially our ministers, to travel all along from Accra to come and explain to us what the E-Levy means. No one to para nanti yiko shele kati alafi kata pambe yi ankara nkana pie kam ye zakabia shel solne nebti net nyin zankpa E-Levy ngopolo kasura ne ben yalti to ashimo za kel kata bala kabang ne nyin na woni atiti yiko shele tin do zan sontema kala titone ngata yina chanta malbala no na de chata te malbala na shel kam no na to sura kela kata mama kata bang ne kadama abel za zan le no vo choma zo yo fata zan titi kati ta arziki da barka ka ya da bang tun bang da arziki ta mama ta zan yutu mama ka no afa titi ta para ya ndo na woni ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا انك التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. يا فاتحه بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين اياك نعبد واياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين انعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
We'll take the Yenari assassin.